Hello, and thank you so much for having me today. My name is Mary Kate Cunningham, and I'm the Vice President of Public Policy at the American Society of Association Executives, ASAE. And I'm so glad to join today to talk a little bit about associations, their impact around the world, and how we are trying to tell that story of the power of associations. Today, my agenda is to start off talking about examples of the different ways that associations impact the world through economic development, training the workforce, all these types of things. And then I'll go into some actual case studies to tell these interesting stories of how associations are making change in the local community and across the world, and then how associations are working to fight COVID-19. We call this the power of associations, or the power of A, but it's how associations contribute in a real significant way to society and to the economy, to the workforce, and to the meetings industry. And obviously the meetings industry has been hit by COVID, but is such an important part of how associations work. The value of face-to-face meetings is more important than ever, and congratulations for this conference that you're able to host an in-person conference. We're a long way from that in DC, but we know that there's a huge desire to go back to meeting in person when it is possible and safe. The global meetings and meetings industry is so important to the economy and to how bringing people together at association conferences, sharing expertise, and there's really no substitute for that. Through the power of associations, the power of A, we reach policymakers, opinion leaders, and the media, and the goal is to not have associations be the best kept secret. And we often joke that if you work at an association, it's hard, your parents don't really know what you do, and we're trying to fix that and help the broader public understand how associations work and the incredible contribution that we make to society. Another aspect of the importance of associations is their ability to work as coalitions, as brain trusts, bringing together either the experts in a field, sometimes fierce competitors in a trade association, bringing them together to come up with positive policies or best practices for an industry, or helping solve really tough problems. From the mattresses we sleep on to the food we put on the dinner table, standard setting is a really important part of it's a process driven by the association community. And so associations really do touch every aspect of life. In addition, professional performance, workforce training, and best practices in the field help consumers know that they can have safety in every aspect, from financial to health and legal concerns. And associations also foster volunteerism, and that's a really important example that we'd like to try to share, that after natural disasters or during a pandemic, they're really places you can go for professions and industries to help try to make things better and bring together their experts to help in their own way. Why is the power of A important? In the United States, part of my job is to help educate elected officials, because if they don't know the value of associations, how can they stand up for us? And explaining the reason associations are tax exempt, and they often say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So that's part of why. But also, it really is vital for the public at large and the media to understand the role of associations. And that will only have a positive effect on helping the broader public understand really the value of the work that we do. We have an awards program. That's where this photo is from, the Power Bay Awards, and I will talk about some of the winners, but each year we honor associations around the world for the incredible work that they're doing in their own lane, in their own field to make the world better. Developing the workforce is something I touched on earlier, but is really critical both at the post-college level and in the trades. Association certification helps people on all different tracks of life and helps develop the next generation of leaders. Association certification is something that is only growing and is a huge benefit to the workforce and to the population at large. People with certifications have a higher degree of understanding of their profession and kind of happiness levels within their profession because they've reached higher levels. They have expertise, and so association voluntary certification is a huge benefit to the workforce and the population at large. And assisting communities at need is something that associations are uniquely able to do because they are the hub of all the experts in the industry. And we've got some great examples of that coming up. And developing innovative solutions, I think because you have the technical expertise and the volunteer strength, that's why associations are so good at coming up with unique resources. It's almost a quasi-governmental role that many associations have in setting industry codes or bringing together, pushing the industry forward. The first case study I have is the Diabetes Disaster Response Coalition. And this is a group that is combined of nonprofits, associations, like the American Diabetes Association, the clinical endocrinologists, and then for-profit companies that work on diabetes, insulin and syringes and all the types of products. And this is a coalition that came together to help get life-saving supplies to people affected by hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria. And this is an ongoing coalition that's continuing to do great work. But they helped people in the US and the Caribbean. And what's really critical with insulin and diabetes medication is that it has to be refrigerated, it has to be cold to work. So if you've lost power and you are, if emergency workers are having trouble even reaching you, this is, it's a really life or death issue for many people with insulin with diabetes in the affected areas. So this coalition is continuing to bring together the nonprofit sector and the private sector to help get life-saving materials to people in need. So that's a really great example. Another case study that's really interesting is the American Speech Language Hearing Association, and they have a country capacity building initiative. They worked with the World Health Organization's Pan American Health Organization to work in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this really started with going to different countries and saying, what is your priority? It's really country-led for what they wanted to address in their own community. And then bringing experts from ASHA, the association, to help do types of workshops, and this is designed to be sustainable. So there's in some countries, they wanted a train the trainer model to help multiply the impact of the education. In some countries, they wanted to really develop a profession, and there's so they're active. The list of countries is growing, but El Salvador, Guyana, Honduras, Paraguay are a couple examples. And in Honduras, they decided they wanted to begin a profession. So this year they're graduating their first cohort of 37 individuals who completed a program in audiology. So I think this is going to be a really sustainable project where these individuals will be part of an ongoing workforce in Honduras. So a really interesting example of having countries lead the project and having motivated volunteers that want to help address communication disorders among global populations. Our next case study, this is a local organization, a state in the United States, and they were working to address human trafficking. And Georgia, the state, it was one of the leading states for trafficked humans. And the Convenience Store Association, so the 7-Eleven type organizations, or oftentimes with gas stations, they are the reason that they decided to move forward with this project is that more than half of the population of the US goes in a convenience store every day. So they partnered with an organization called In Our Backyard, and they put up a lot of kind of life-saving information about what to do if you are being trafficked, a phone number, how to call, to how to recognize the signs of trafficking for other people that were in the store. And this was a no-cost program that their member companies could participate in. They had volunteers trained to help talk to convenience stores, put up the information, and they did this surrounding the 2019 Super Bowl in Atlanta. But now it's an ongoing program. So in the, they have freedom stickers in the restroom stalls. And what's really amazing is that in the Super Bowl time period, they were able to help save 29 of the 34 children in the Missing Children's book and help arrest 170 individuals as part of this effort. So, and what I found really interesting was this started because the young professional members said, we need charitable activity as part of our strategic plan. So you never know what's going to come out of the strategic planning process. But really interesting local example. On COVID-19, as you know, associations are on the front lines of industries and professions and trying to do what they can to help their members. And at the same time, they've been hugely impacted by the loss of revenue from conferences, their traditional business models, and pivoting to virtual meetings. So thinking about new revenue models, it's been a really transformative time for associations, where it's a time of a lot of stress, but we're also seeing a lot of innovation, which I hope will build that resiliency for the future. Another interesting case study is the Blood Banks Association, and they worked both with the government and other nonprofits to spearhead guidance on blood supply and also address the shortage that we had. So I think during the very beginning of the lockdown in the US, there was a big shortage, and blood has a short shelf life, and you always need a constant supply. There are always going to be more patients in need. So they did great work partnering with other organizations to monitor the blood supply and reduce the risk of shortages, and also encourage people volunteering to give blood. Also, so they did that through PR and communications, working with their partners and defining the critical messages. What's also interesting is that AABB is supporting the rapidly evolving therapy of COVID-19 convalescent plasma donation. So that while the whole world waits for a COVID vaccine, transfusion of convalescent plasma is one of the best options we have at our disposal to help people recover. The plasma of someone who has recovered from COVID-19 is rich in antibodies to fight the virus. The donation process for plasma of someone who's recovered can help be put into a sick patient and boost their immune system to speed the recovery process. So the association has been promoting the collection of the convalescent plasma and dealing with all the other governmental regulatory issues to help with reimbursement mechanisms to make sure they're clear. And so a lot happens behind the scenes that associations are able to influence, use their expertise to fix problems, and help drive this process. And I love this example because associations really shine as community connectors here. And AABB is one of the founders of the Fight Is In Us campaign to urge policymakers, the public sector, philanthropic partners to help try to increase donations of convalescent plasma. My last example is also related to COVID and distilled spirits. So this is an example of a trade association really pivoting in the time of COVID. When COVID first hit, a lot of the alcohol distillers, this association, the Distilled Spirits Council, was able to bring together guidance to help their members transition from making whiskey to making hand sanitizer. And at first, this was a big effort because we had shortages for medical professionals and first responders. So this was an effort to help get hand sanitizer in their hands. And another industry-wide initiative that DISCUS, the Distilled Spirits Council, helped push was really helping change the laws so that restaurants could sell cocktails to go, because there was a lot of damage really being done when restaurants had to close down, and they thought of innovative ways to help continue the sale. They also are helping with a fund for service workers, for bartenders. They know bartenders are critical ambassadors to help share their products. So out-of-work bartenders, that's also really interesting. And on the hand sanitizer side, the Distilled Spirits Council helped with a public education campaign about helping keep infants safe from hand sanitizer. After the lockdowns began, poison hotlines got a big increase in calls because there was a lot more hand sanitizer around and little kids were taking it and ingesting it, not knowing. So a big public education campaign around that. And also public education around safe drinking. Their rates of alcohol consumption have increased under COVID for obvious reasons. And the Distilled Spirits Council has a role in helping share responsible drinking. So this is an interesting statistic. By April, Grey Goose Vodka had made over 400,000 gallons of hand sanitizer across the world. Really all just different types of organizations, trade and professional, making a difference. And then the Florida Association for Infant Mental Health Care, this is another local interesting example in COVID. Faces Are Essential is the campaign to help give out masks that are clear, that allow caregivers to be with kids, helping educate them, and letting the kids still be able to see their facial expressions. And we know that infants and small children are learning communication at this time. It's critical for their brain development to see faces and be able to interpret. And when they lack language, this is so critical for the brain development and imprinting that. So another example of a local association making a big difference. We have more resources at thepowerbay.org, the Power of Associations, about our awards program, all the different ways we support associations, and also our Stronger by Association podcast, where you can hear some of these stories and others about how associations are making a difference through the power of partnership, hard work, and collaboration. Thanks again for having me, and congratulations on your meeting, and please let me know if we can ever be of service.